From Waitress to TV Shark. Barbara Corcoran was born on March 10, 1940, in Edgewater, New Jersey. Growing up, she had dreams of becoming an actress or a writer. However, reality hit her hard when she learned that she had dyslexia. In school, she could not read or write well, and was told by her teachers that she should have realistic expectations for her future. These expectations were pretty low, so she went on to attend a secretarial college. But even there, she was mocked by her classmates for misspelling simple words like typewriter. Barbara Corcoran thought that she wasn't good enough to become anything more than a secretary, which is exactly what she ended up doing. She worked as a secretary at a publishing company, making about $10,000 a year. Then in 1964, everything changed when she met the love of her life. His name was Bill, who was a broker at a real estate company. He made about $20,000 a year, which was a lot back then. And he was also really supportive of Barbara's ambitions. Soon after they got married, Barbara became pregnant with their first child. She quit her job and stayed home to take care of the baby, while Bill worked at the real estate firm. At the time, she believed that this was the end of her career. But little did she know that this was only the beginning. In 1968, Barbara gave birth to their first son and decided to get back into the workforce. She needed something flexible that would allow her to spend time with her newborn baby. So she got a job as a waitress at a seafood restaurant. The problem was that she hated the job. It was very stressful and the pay was not great. She realized that if she wanted to make more money, she would have to do something that she actually enjoyed. So she went to her husband and asked him to lend her $1,000 so that she could start her own business. Bill agreed, but he warned her that this was a lot of money and she shouldn't waste it. Barbara thanked him and promised that she wouldn't. Now, even though Barbara didn't know it yet, the $1,000 that her husband lent her would go on to turn into a $100 million fortune. First though, she had to figure out what type of business she was going to start. Her dream was always to become an actress, but she knew that she wasn't good enough to make it in Hollywood. She considered other passions like writing, but again, she knew that she wasn't talented enough to earn a living off of it. So she went back to the one thing she knew best, being a secretary. On April Fool's Day in 1969, Barbara Corcoran opened up her own secretarial company called Barbara B. Corcoran. She rented a small office and spent the $1,000 on a typewriter, a desk, and a chair. The rest of the money she put into advertising so that people in the area would know that she was open for business. It took a couple of months, but eventually clients started to come in. She charged $10 per hour, which was quite expensive back then. But her clients didn't mind, because she was willing to work evenings and weekends. Something that most other companies weren't willing to do. As her business started to grow, she hired more secretaries so that she could take on more clients. Within 2 years, her business was making $25,000 per year. Then, in 1971, her father passed away. This left her mother with no one to take care of her. So Barbara took it upon herself to move her mom into her house. With the extra money she was making from the business, she was now able to live comfortably and support her entire family. But Barbara never forgot where she started, and she knew that there were many other women in the same position as her who didn't have anyone to turn to, so she started volunteering at a local women's shelter. She taught these women how to type and interview so that they could get better jobs. She also helped them develop confidence and self-esteem. Barbara loved helping these women succeed. So much so that she eventually quit her secretarial company to focus on the women's shelter full-time. In 1973, she started a non-profit organization called Service Corps of Retired Executives, which paired retired business executives with underprivileged entrepreneurs so that they could get mentorship. By this point, Barbara was spending most of her time running the nonprofit and volunteering at the women's shelter. She wasn't making as much money as she did before, but she was happy because she was making a difference in the lives of others. The opportunity to get back into business came along in 1974, when one of her clients asked her to help sell his real estate business. She had no idea how to sell a business, but she was willing to learn. After doing some research, she bought out the owner and renamed the company Corcoran, Siebert and Ryan. Even though she didn't have much experience, Barbara was a very savvy businesswoman. She grew the real estate agency very quickly and made a name for herself in the industry. By the late 1970s, the agency had around 150 agents and was the largest in New York City. At the same time, Barbara was also building up her net worth. She had saved up enough money to buy a condo in Manhattan. She paid $200,000 in cash and immediately rented it out for $1,200 per month. This gave her a nice steady stream of income that she could use to invest in more properties. Over the years, she continued to buy condos and rent them out until she had built up a real estate empire worth tens of millions of dollars. Today, Barbara Corcoran is worth over $100 million. She has written several books, appeared on countless TV shows, and even starred in her own reality series on CNBC, called The Big Idea with Barbara Corcoran. She has also donated millions of dollars to charity and helped thousands of people turn their lives around. So how did Barbara Corcoran go from a waitress to a real estate mogul? Well, it all started with one simple decision to take a risk and invest in herself. When she borrowed $1,000 from her husband, she could have easily given up and gone back to working as a secretary. But instead, she took the risk and started her own business. This allowed her to gain experience and knowledge that she would never have gotten otherwise. Sure, she had some setbacks along the way, but she never let them stop her from moving forward. Instead, she used those setbacks as motivation to work harder and smarter. For example, when her real estate agency almost went bankrupt in the early 1980s, she could have given up. But instead, she redoubled her efforts and eventually turned the company around. What's more, Barbara Corcoran was a very savvy businesswoman. She knew how to negotiate deals, and she wasn't afraid to take risks. She also had a great understanding of the real estate market, and she was able to capitalize on emerging trends. All of these factors combined to help her build up a successful real estate empire. Finally, Barbara Corcoran was also a very giving person. She knew that not everyone was as fortunate as her, and she wanted to help others succeed. She volunteered countless hours at the women's shelter, and she even started a non-profit organization to help underprivileged entrepreneurs. Her desire to help others is likely what led her to become an investor on the show Shark Tank. She has been on the show since 2012, and she has invested over $300 million into various businesses. She has also helped countless entrepreneurs get their businesses off the ground and become successful. In conclusion, Barbara Corcoran's story is truly inspiring. She went from being a waitress to a real estate mogul, and she did it all by investing in herself, being savvy, and giving back. Hopefully her story will inspire you to pursue your dreams and never give up. Now Barbara Corcoran is a perfect example of someone who was able to take advantage of an opportunity that presented itself to her. If she hadn't borrowed that $1,000 from her husband, she might not have had the confidence to start her own business. Also, if the real estate industry hadn't been deregulated in the 1970s, she wouldn't have been able to buy out her client and start her own real estate agency. Finally, if she hadn't been so savvy and willing to take risks, she might not have been able to turn her real estate agency into a multi-million-dollar business. Did you enjoy this video? If so, please make sure to leave a like, as it really helps our channel continue to grow. We also have a ton of other videos available, so if you have a free moment, go ahead and check them out. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.